Okay, so is ChatGPT already yesterday's news? I mean, you hear this stuff online.
Yeah.
There's this thing called Gigamind AI,
Mm,
and it's generating some serious buzz. The claims are pretty bold, too faster, much better memory, maybe even more creative.
right.
So what's really going on here, is Gigamind actually a game changer, or is it just like the latest AI flavor of the month?
Well, that's basically the core of what we're diving into today. You've pulled together some really interesting material on Gigamind AI,
Yeah.
and our goal, our mission, if you like, is to kind of cut through that noise. We need to understand how it actually works fundamentally.
Hmm.
How does it really compare to models we know, like ChatGPT? And, ultimately, what could this all mean for you, for our listeners, and how they interact with AI?
Right. So Gigamind AI is being positioned as this next-gen language model. That's
Yeah.
the term they're using. A direct challenger to ChatGPT and Google's Gemini 2, apparently. Now, one of the key things, the innovation everyone's talking about, is these layered memory stacks. What's the core idea there? What should we understand about that?
So, what's really fascinating, or at least what's claimed, is the ability of these memory stacks to maintain context, and not just for a little bit, but over much longer, more complex conversations.
Okay.
You know how sometimes with a chatbot, you chat for a bit and then it just completely forgets what you were talking about 5 minutes ago?
Oh, yeah. All the time. Very frustrating.
Exactly. So the claim here is that Gigamind's architecture, these stacks, they let it hold on to relevant info from like many previous prompts. Think of it almost like having a much, much better short-term memory.
Okay.
And users, the early reports anyway, are saying this leads to conversations that feel more coherent, more focused, which, if true, that could be a really big step forward for conversational AI.
That does sound like a major, major improvement for, just using it day to day. No more constantly having to repeat yourself or
Yeah.
remind the AI. Now, it's not just about text, though, is it? Gigamind is also being described as multimodal.
Right.
What does that actually mean in practice? What can it do?
Yeah, multimodality is, well, if you look at where AI is generally going, it's a really significant development.
Mm.
Basically, it means Gigamind isn't stuck just dealing with words on a page, text.
Right.
It can apparently handle and understand information from images, from audio files, even video.
Wow.
So, yeah, imagine showing it a photo and asking questions about it, or maybe getting it to summarize a voice memo you recorded, or even analyze the key points in a short video clip.
Okay.
This ability to work with different kinds of data, it just opens up a much, much wider range of things you could potentially use it for.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's maybe dig into some specifics then. Compare some of the core features side by side, Gigamind and ChatGPT.
Good idea.
One of the first things that jumps out is this real-time web access.
Yeah.
How is Gigamind different from ChatGPT there?
Right. This is a pretty key difference, at least in their, let's say, standard operation. ChatGPT, as you know, mostly runs on its training data, which has a knowledge cutoff date, right?
Yeah, unless you specifically use the browsing feature or plugins.
Exactly. Gigamind, on the other hand, is said to have live internet access just built right in, integrated,
Yeah.
which means it can, theoretically, pull up to the minute information directly from the web. So if you ask about, I don't know, breaking news or current stock prices or recent events,
You just know.
it should be able to access that information in
Yeah.
real time, yeah,
Yeah.
without needing extra steps or tools.
That feels like a huge advantage for staying current. Okay, what about the context window? That's another big point people are making. The numbers seem quite different.
They do. And the context window is, well, it's basically how much information the AI can hold in its working memory at any one time.
Right.
So ChatGPT 4, the current version, has around a 32,000 token limit, which is already quite a lot of text it can process simultaneously. Gigamind, however, is claiming a capacity of over 100,000 words.
Words, not tokens.
Words, that's the claim. And that's a very, very significant potential increase.
Okay, so what does that mean practically?
Well, to give you an idea, it could mean you could upload, say, an entire novel, or maybe a really lengthy, dense research paper,
The whole thing.
the whole thing. And Gigamind would, in theory, still have the capacity to understand the full context and answer really detailed questions about any part of it. For tasks that involve digesting huge amounts of information, that difference could be, well, transformative.
Wow. Yeah, the idea of an AI actually reading and understanding a whole book and then being able to discuss it properly, That's a big leap.
It certainly changes the scale of what's possible.
And then we come back to the multimodal input again. Can you give us maybe some more concrete, sort of everyday examples of how that might be useful for people listening?
Sure, let's think practical. Say you're wrestling with a really tricky math problem from homework. Instead of trying to type out all the symbols and equations, which can be a pain,
Definitely.
you could just snap a photo of the problem with your phone, upload the image, and GigaMind could potentially guide you through the steps to solve it.
Ah, okay, that's neat.
Or maybe you missed an important Zoom meeting, but someone recorded it. You could upload the video file, and GigaMind could give you a quick summary. Key decisions, action points, that kind of thing.
Right, saving a lot of time.
Exactly. Or even just sending a quick voice note with a question instead of typing. It could process that directly. It just makes interacting potentially much more seamless using whatever format is easiest.
Okay. Now, one of the big ongoing criticisms of current LLMs, including ChatGPT, is this problem of hallucinations, right? Where they confidently state things that are just wrong.
A major challenge.
How is Gigamind supposedly tackling this? It's a pretty critical issue for trust.
It absolutely is. So
Yeah.
GigaMind reportedly includes something they're calling a built-in fact-checking layer.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, the details are a bit sparse, but the intention, the stated goal, is to actively try and verify information while it's generating the response.
So, like cross-referencing on the fly.
Something like that, yes. By trying to validate information as it's being produced, the aim is to significantly cut down on those instances where the AI just makes stuff up but sounds totally sure of itself.
Right.
Now, look, it's probably unlikely to eliminate errors completely. AI is complex, but even a substantial reduction in hallucinations would be a really big deal for making these tools more reliable and trustworthy.
Yeah, that would definitely boost confidence in using them for more serious tasks. Okay, so the tech specs sound impressive, but is Gigamind actually being used anywhere yet? In the real world? The material you shared mentioned some interesting testing grounds.
Yes, and these initial applications, these pilot programs, they give us a bit of a glimpse into the practical potential here.
Like what?
Well, in customer support, for instance, the idea is for GigaMind to handle conversations, maybe even voice calls, with a much deeper understanding, not just the words, but the customer's tone, their underlying intent, maybe even the emotions coming through.
So more empathetic AI support.
Potentially, yes, leading to more effective resolutions. Then there's content creation. It's being tested, apparently, to help writers brainstorm ideas, outline complex things like books or screenplays, even generate draft articles. Sort of like an AI tow writer.
An AI collaborator.
Exactly. And in education, think about personalized learning, helping students by summarizing really complex topics, maybe translating materials instantly, or even generating tailored practice quizzes based on their specific needs.
There was that user quote in the notes that really stuck with me. Something like, "It feels like having an actual coworker who never gets tired, never complains, and always has a good idea."
Yeah, that quote really captures the potential appeal, doesn't it?
It really does.
It highlights that vision of AI becoming this truly integrated, supportive partner in our work and even our personal lives. That idea of an always-on, super knowledgeable assistant, it's definitely compelling for a lot of people.
Okay, so we've looked at the features, some potential uses, but let's circle back to that big question. Is Gigamind actually smarter than ChatGPT? I mean, smart feels like such a loaded, subjective word with AI.
You're absolutely right to question that. Defining smart for AI is, well, notoriously tricky. There's no single metric.
Right.
However, if we break it down and focus on specific capabilities,
Yeah.
things like, say, remembering context over really long chats.
Yeah, the memory stacks.
Right, or the speed of processing information, or its ability to handle different types of data images, audio, video, that versatility.
And then multimodality.
Exactly. If you look at those aspects, then based on the claims and the information we have, GigaMind appears to offer some, let's say, tangible advantages over the standard ChatGPT experience.
But I sense a but coming. The material also suggested ChatGPT might still have the edge in some areas.
That's also correct. An important context. When it comes to tasks requiring maybe very deep, nuanced reasoning, or generating highly creative, polished, sophisticated writing styles, especially when you enhance ChatGPT with specific plugins or connect it to external knowledge sources or tools, it's still considered extremely capable, a very strong performer in those domains.
So it's not quite as simple as saying one is just better.
Not at all. It's not a straightforward case of Gigamind simply surpassing ChatGPT across every single possible task or measure.
So it really boils down to what the user actually needs it for, doesn't it?
Pretty much,
If
yeah.
someone prioritizes getting real-time, up-to-the-minute info or needs to work seamlessly with images or audio alongside text,
Hmm.
maybe Gigamind is the better fit for them.
Precisely. Gigamind seems particularly tailored, or at least marketed, towards those applications where that live data and that fluid multi-format interaction are really critical.
This whole comparison, it really just highlights how incredibly fast this field is moving. It
Yeah.
feels like we're genuinely watching a significant evolution happen right now.
Absolutely. And looking at the bigger picture here, the emergence of something like Gigamind, whether it ultimately dominates or not, is almost secondary. That clearly signals the direction AI development is pushing towards,
Which is?
which is this rapid move towards what people are calling multimodal AI, towards intelligent systems that can perceive and understand the world in a much more holistic way, integrating information from sight, sound, text, much more like how we humans process things using our different senses.
Wow. Machines that can basically read, write, see, and hear, and potentially understand subtleties like tone of voice. That's pretty profound stuff. It has massive implications.
It really does. And as these AI systems get more capable, more integrated into everything we do, it forces us to confront some really significant questions about those broader implications.
Like what sort of questions?
Well, how do we regulate AI this powerful? How do we prevent misuse, think deepfakes, biased decision making? What happens when AI interaction becomes almost indistinguishable from talking to another human? These aren't easy questions.
No, definitely not. Okay, so let's bring it back to where we started. That initial question. Is ChatGPT already outdated? It seems like the answer is, well, it's complicated, more nuanced than just yes or no.
That feels fair to say, yeah.
Gigamind clearly brings some compelling new features to the table, especially around memory, real-time data, and multimodality. But ChatGPT, especially the advanced versions with tools, still has significant strengths, particularly in depth and perhaps writing quality.
The landscape just evolving incredibly quickly. It's dynamic.
So for everyone listening, what's your take? Does Gigamind feel like the next major leap forward, or is it maybe just the current wave of hype in a fast-moving field?
It's a good question for people to ponder.
Yeah, and if you actually get a chance to try Gigamind out, we genuinely encourage you to compare it directly with your experiences using ChatGPT or other models. See it for yourself. Maybe even share your findings somewhere.
Yeah, real user experiences are key.
Absolutely. And look, this deep dive today, it's really just part of our ongoing effort to track what's happening in this space. AI, tech breakthroughs, future discoveries. We'll definitely keep bringing you updates as things develop.
For sure.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Thinking about those specific capabilities, Gigamind is highlighting that enhanced memory, the multimodal understanding, the real-time web access. Which one of those feels most potentially impactful to you personally?
Yep.
And how might that single capability change the way you interact with technology day to day in the future? Something to think about.